Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to rounds 10 and 11 of the Simability V8ESC here on Backfire Simsport TV. We are coming to you from sunny Sebring in Florida, or virtual Florida as the case were. I'm Tyler Newitt, joined in the booth by just Sam Boozen today. Welcome, Sam.
Hello, Tyler. Good evening, everybody.
We've got the usual sprint and feature race going on today. 40-minute, 20-minute sprint followed by a 40-minute feature with a top 10 reverse, and the cars are just heading out for qualifying now. And while they're doing that, it's a long lap at Sebring, so we've got some time. Let's take a look at the season standings here. At the moment, in the Simability Cup, it's a bit of a one-man show with Kenzie Newhoff in the lead. He's sitting on 1,319 points. He's got about a 200-point advantage even once the drop score comes into place over Rich Warmingham from XVR. Simon Trendle from Team Chimera is in third. Then it's the second of the Racing Forces cars, David Burns in fourth, and Bob Woodhouse from NQR Europe rounding out the top five. We'll see those drop scores come into play. I want to say next round. Is that correct, Sam? I think we're just about halfway.
Oh, we might just be halfway, yes.
Okay, so we've got the drop scores in place.
It will most likely be next round, yes.
Okay, so next round we'll see the drop scores come into place. Doesn't shift too much. We would see Johnny Brandon jump up, but Johnny's not here again today, so he will be dropping further down the list after this one, I would imagine.
Yes, and as we have the standings up on the screen, just to point out that there's been an issue with the scoring for the sprint and features. Sprint was P20 and 21 or 21 and 22 with too many points, and the feature race had wrong points from P11 onwards. Those have been corrected and re-uploaded to the website, so all of this is now accurate, hopefully.
Thank you, Sam, for that update. Unfortunately, don't think it'll bump me much higher than 14th, especially with missing another round to do the broadcast here. But over in the team standings, we've got Hydro Race Racing Forces leading the way, unsurprisingly, given Kenzie's lead. They're on 2,391 points, followed up by XVR about 200 points back. NQR Europe is a further 250 or so points behind. Obviously, you're not seeing it on your screen now, but the order is correct. Then it's Team Chimera and then QR rounding out the top five here. Lots of room for movement to happen, although, as we mentioned, both Racing Forces and XVR running one-handed today with Kenzie. Kenzie and David are both here for Racing Forces, but XVR, we've just got Rich Warmingham. No Johnny Brandon or Steve LaValle that I have seen today. So we're just starting to see the times come in for qualifying. Seeing purple sector for Bram, a couple purple sectors for David Burns. He was quick in practice. I know at some point with about 10 minutes to go when I last looked at the standings, he was sitting on top. I don't know if you finished up there, Sam.
I have no clue. I forgot to check on at the end of the session. I was busy clicking buttons, so yeah. I have absolutely no clue. But let's go into iRacing and check that because we might have the answer.
Yeah, which was on top? The first car to set a lap at a 2:05.4, but the times are coming in quick. Bram does in one better, and then David Burns does in both. So David is the first car to sit atop the standings here. That's a pretty good time, a 2:05.1. He's got 3/10 over Bram Dubois. Bob Woodhouse, Stacy Boyd also putting in quick times and resetting. I know, Sam, in practice it was hot, so I think we're going to see a lot of drivers doing one lap and done. They were talking about the tires falling off really quickly.
It is still really hot right now.
40C track temp. So this is going to make for, this is kind of the first that we've seen in one of our league races as far as really high track temp, which is going to really put some emphasis on tire saving for these drivers for these races. I know that some of the official races have had, you know, these high track temps, and it's really affected things. Drivers, you know, fading towards the back end or even having to pit an extra time. I can't imagine we're going to see 2 stops in the future, but certainly it's gonna have a pretty drastic effect, and we're gonna see some pretty substantial fall off with track temps that high. So
it could be pretty interesting to see a 2-stopper in the feature race, but yeah, the issue is the pit lane time is a bit too long for 40-minute race, so I'm not sure it's gonna happen.
I would think so, but yeah, and you know, the drivers at the back may think about it, you know, just as doing something different. As Clyde always said, better to do something different than do the same. But yeah, as you said, pit transit time just probably a bit too long to see it. We're seeing more laps come in. No real substantial improvements. Kenzie's got a few green sectors here, but nothing purple on the board yet.
Simon hasn't set a lap yet.
No, he hasn't. That'll likely be due to an off track or something on lap 1, and he's got a purple sector 3 on this lap, so could well see him jump pretty far up, as he often does. Bit of a slide there through turn 10. I was saying before we went on air, Sam, I did a few laps just to get my bearings. I hadn't really had time to do any practice for this week. It is tricky, and you know, I think Sebring does a lot of things. It's a really, for a totally flat track, it is incredibly varied in its corners. And you've got a lot of corners that test the braking capabilities, which is something I know a lot of drivers have been struggling with the new car. You look at the hairpin, you look at turn 10. Even Sunset is a pretty substantial braking zone in these cars. And then you've got the kind of high-speed weight transfer corners, which Sebring has plenty of as well. And this car is really tough to get right in both of those kinds of corners with one setup, because if you get a car that, you know, can turn into the heavy braking corners, it's going to be really wobbly in the high-speed stuff, as we see. David, that car looks pretty solidly planted through Sunset, and I think that's going to be the telltale sign. The drivers who are able to keep it planted in the high speeds are going to do well. We did see Simon jump up to second with his lap, but not quite able to unseat David Burns from the top of the times. Bob's got a good lap going here. He's got a purple sector 4, it looks like, and he's just making his way down towards Sunset. He looked a bit squirrely there, so maybe not going to be quite enough here, but the 2 sectors he's slower in are the 2 shortest sectors on the track, or 2 of the shortest sectors on the track. So he could sneak across here. We'll keep an eye on him as he comes to the line.
Yeah, turn 1 can make a big difference at Sebring, so you might look at a few tenths lost, but it does.
And he goes third, so yeah, good lap from Rob Woodhouse there.
David's
trying to see, doesn't. Yeah, David's on another quick one. I don't know that he needs to, as Rich Warmingham goes to the top. Okay, so maybe David does need to put in a bit of improvement here. Rich does a 2:05.08, so that's a really solid lap. Just a whisker ahead of David Burns. I mean, you know, Sam, this is what we've talked about all season, and for the last couple seasons, really, which even with the switch to the new car, it's so tight at the top of this field that, you know, hundredths of a second matter in qualifying.
It's extremely tight, and with the bigger grid and the loads of talents we have now in the grid, it's even tighter. It's you can go from first to 10th in just a few seconds in qualifying. So yeah, it makes it very hard on the drivers not make mistakes. I don't think David will improve You only have the two first sector good, so that's the tire being warm from the first lap. He doesn't improve. Yeah, he's over a second. Oh no, he did improve his time, but not enough.
Yeah, you talk about hundredths being in it. Improves fractionally to stay within a tenth of Rich Wormingham's time, but yeah, not quite enough. David's been stellar the whole season through. He's really rapid and a great pickup by Racing Forces to bring him into their fold.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure how Kenzie feels being being one upped, at least in this session. Obviously, Kenzie's got a bit of a stranglehold on the championship.
It's
As we look
probably a
at
motivation
Woodward.
for Kenzie to go forward. Excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening on the chat. We've got Lightning Magoo and Maverick rooting for Darren Reynolds, or Rain Man as they're calling him. Lane O'Connor as well. And Marco Nemerla's just jumped in. So good evening, everybody on the chat.
Yeah, I'm disappointed about Marco because I just fixed his name for good in the sheet, so he's now called Marco with a K and not a C, because it was a leftover in some places, and he's not even racing. So yeah, I'm gonna switch back to C. That way he will be racing next time.
Seeing some laps come in. Kenzie just jumped up to 6th. Don't see any other big improvements. And this is one of those tricky. You're really not going to get very many laps here because it's it's a full 2-minute lap as Ryan Swayze jumps up to 5th, bumps Kenzie back down. It's a 2-minute lap. Ooh, that's a slide through turn 1. Don't think this is going to be another improvement for Ryan. It's a 2-minute lap, and you only get 15 minutes on the dot. As soon as that time is up, your qualifying's done in these sprint feature weekends. So. Not really a lot of time here. You're probably looking at, maybe 3 flying laps. If the tires are holding on for a second, maybe you can squeeze a couple more good ones out of it. But yeah, really, I don't think we're going to see too much in the way of improvements here. Not sure who is kind of off sequence, maybe doing a prep lap after they messed up the first lap, but. Yeah, I'm really not seeing anyone who can threaten Rich Wormingham, who sits at the top right now.
I've got one question for you, Tyler, as you keep up more with iRacing updates than I do. Did they do something to Sebring recently?
You mean visually?
Yes.
Yeah, they added the 3D grass somewhat recently. I'm not sure if they've done.
Signage, I think
they may have. Yeah, I know they do the art updates occasionally. So they may have done it somewhat recently. Yeah, as we see Rob Woodhouse here, he's improving. Not setting purple times, but sometimes when you're close enough, you don't need to. Just need to be consistent over the lap. He's got to find about half a second, if my math is correct, to challenge Rich. And he jumps to 3rd. He didn't quite find half a second, but he found a few tenths. And
it's really tight at the top.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the gaps. To find a pair of cars separated by more than a tenth of a second, you have to go down to Kenzie and Stacy in 7th and 8th. I mean, it is just, I don't know, ferocious. I'd say I'm glad I'm not racing, but I love it. So.
Yeah, I kind of miss racing in those type fields. It's always enjoyable.
Yeah, and really have to say, it's been awesome to see the consistently 20-plus car grids and a really nice spread through the field too. I know there was some talk in the last couple seasons of it was really tight at the top, but there were kind of some drivers in the mid-pack who were missing people to race with, and I think we've definitely got that with the group we have here. You see those times all the way through. It is tight. So, all right, that'll bring us to the end of qualifying. As the cars get gridded up, we'll get the grid for you there. So it is Rich Wormingham on top for XVR. He has done a 2:05.08. Next up is David Burns, Bob Woodhouse, Simon Trendle, row 2. Then it's Prem Dubois and Ryan Swayze in row 3, followed by Kenzie Newhoff and Stacy Boyd. Ant Woodward and Stephen Phillips rounding out the top 10. I thought Stephen said he wasn't going to make it this week, but good to see him here. Nikolai and Mikko Koitinen are row number 6. And behind them, it's Jamie Wilson and Rolly Wallbank. Eduardo Laurent, also on debut, I believe, alongside Rob Venn for BSTV Esports. Anthony Young and Darren Reynolds, a pair of XVR drivers in row number 9, followed by another XVR driver, Peter Evans, and Arnulf Kohler. Then it's Vincent Skilbeck, who didn't set a great lap in qualifying. That's a little surprising. And it's Jeff Saunders and Rich Jameson rounding out our field. All right, Sam, just waiting on a few more cars to grid here. And turn 1 at Sebring from a standing start shouldn't be too bad, but it really funnels down, and we've seen a lot of chaos before in turn 2, and some of us may have snuck a win because of it.
Not me, but yes.
Well, one of us in the booth may have gotten one of their rare V8 wins because of Sebring chaos. So it'll be interesting to see. We haven't had a safety car yet with the new car. Actually, we haven't had a safety car in quite some time. I think it's been a few seasons. So hopefully long may that streak continue, but there is always the chance when it funnels up.
Yeah, the last one I remember was Sandown a few seasons ago. But as the light comes down...
Yeah. Oh, it's a poor start for David Burns. Rich gets away, and Simon looking to the outside. Really, everybody trying to get around David here. As Rich Warmingham leads them into turn number 1, looking clean. Oh, there was a Simability car up the inside of Stephen Phillips there. That could have been Harry, but they backed out. I think that was Nikolai there. As keeping it nice and tidy here, making their way through the first sector. Ooh, a little nudge there from Kenzie on Simon, but they keep it up. And Rob Woodhouse has done well to get clear in second place. He's going to be under pressure here into the hairpin, the first of the really big, heavy braking zones. And everybody looks like they're getting it stopped okay. That's really nicely managed by everyone through here. A few minor cases of wheel spin on the exit. I was telling you, Sam, in those laps I did. Ooh, we've got someone off in the grass. Is that Stacy Boyd, maybe?
It is, yes.
Yeah. That really easy, because you want to set your car up to turn well in the heavy braking zones here, but that leaves you vulnerable to lighting up the rears as Simon and Kenzie continue to battle over third place here. Looks like Simon's got it buttoned up, at least for now. And Rich Warmingham is enjoying it.
Side by side.
Yes, yeah. Sebring is such a great track for racing because there's corners you can stay side by side through, and then there's those heavy braking zones to divide it up. I've never been particularly good around here, besides that one fluky win I mentioned earlier. But it's definitely a track that lends itself to some great racing. Marco's recovering from pneumonia, which doesn't seem like a very good excuse, but we feel for you, Marco. Hopefully you're back for the next one. As we see David Burns trying to recover from the poor start, looking to the outside of Ant Woodward here. And I think Ant's just going to close that one off as they head towards the start-finish line here. We're riding on board with Stephen Phillips, who's up one spot from his starting position to 9th. Tries to get the over-under there. He's right up in behind David. He's going to have the inside line here. I think they're 3 wide. I'm not sure Steven knew they were 3 wide there, but he did back out of it. And oh no, just a little coming together, and Ant Woodward's gone around. That is one of those places around here where the track just funnels you into each other. And unfortunately for Ant Woodward, that's cost him quite substantially. He's dropped down to 21st. As we see Vince putting pressure on Stacy Boyd. Vince up quite a bit. We mentioned he didn't really get a representative time in qualifying. He's 8 spots up into 13th and pressuring Stacy here as Stephen Phillips, I think, defending from Mikko Koitinen, who's going around the outside in turn 10. That's a really nice move if Mikko can finish this off, but Stephen's got the inside line into tower turn. And I think, yeah, he's just going to hold on to it and actually open the door up for Jamie Wilson to try and move into the top 10 here. Behind them, Stacy still on the recovery drive and still under pressure from Vincent Skilbeck, who's got a good run onto the straight. Really, everyone managed that okay. Mikko seemed to be the worst here. As it's closing up at the front, Rob Woodhouse putting a little pressure on Rich Warmingham into Sunset, as we get a great view down the backstretch here. What an awesome field we've got as we see the recovering Ant Woodward and Arnav Kohler and Darren Reynolds there in the back. Fastest lap of the race goes to Simon Trendle. As we mentioned, that top group are really starting to tighten up here, as now we've got a battle for, this is for 13th, Mikko Koitinen continuing to drop back. So not sure if Mikko just overheated the tires a little bit in that battle with Stephen Phillips, but suddenly he's found himself down 4 spots after attempting that move. It looked really like he might be able to pull it off there, but it's not going his way in the back half of the lap. Jamie Wilson pressuring Stephen Phillips. He's going to have a look into the braking zone, but nothing doing. That's one of those moves that you're not really going to outbrake someone while the tires are fresh. As we see, speaking of fresh tires, Mikko Koitinen with another bobble there under pressure. And here we've got Simon Trendle. I mean, this is the top 4 all sort of congealed together here. As Rob Venn puts a move on Rolly Wallbank. Oh, and there's a car around. Is that Stacy Boyd again? So more trouble for Stacy after the off-roading he did in the hairpin on lap 1. Let's see, did he have help from Vince, or did he do it all on his own on throttle? Oh, yeah, a little nudge from Vince. Just helped him around. And that's tough for Stacy. Now, it just seems to ebb and flow a little bit at the front. As Simon was putting pressure on Rob Woodhouse that last time around, Rich has been able to stretch a gap just a little bit. I mean, we're talking half a second here. It's not enough for Rich to feel comfortable, but at least he'll be not under imminent threat from second place.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would call that a gap, but it's up to you.
Let me tell you, you'll take anything you can get in these cars and in these battles. I mean, it really, it's tough to overstate how much getting into a fight sucks you in. And it's not even, side-by-side racing. I mean, Rob is being slowed down by Simon now. Simon hasn't been able to get alongside, but he's been putting the pressure on, and that's been separating this group again just a little, as now Kenzie maybe having a look. Simon goes to defend early, so shuts that idea off before it can get started. Hi to Chris on the chat. Says those V8s look really fun to drive, and he is correct.
Okay, so next time today you just do what I want to do, is talking to the chat, so it's good. We are linked somehow.
we're on the same page here, but yeah, absolutely, Chris. To anyone watching who hasn't given these cars a shot, as we see Vince running a bit wide and letting through Mikko Koitinen. Anyone who hasn't given these cars a shot, I really I would encourage anyone to just turn enough laps that you get over the initial insanity of them, and really start to get a feel for them, because they're so rewarding. And once you get them dialed in, I know Tony's been on the Discord lately talking about how how good the iRacing setups are, and it's true. You can really get a feel for it just with the baseline setups of these cars.
Yeah, if you want to give them a shot, there's a few options for you depending on your time zones. I know the American guys run, I think it's Thursday evening for them.
Thursday and Friday evening are the Americas strength of fields, yeah.
So are the Europeans one. So if you're in one of those time zones, join our Discord. There's a nice community around the V8 that try to run these officials every week. So that's a first step into the cars, and they're all there to help you, almost all of them, if not all. There's plenty of people to get advice from, and that will happily give advice on how to apprehend a car if you've never driven one of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As we saw Simon looking to make a move, we've got kind of 3 distinct battle packs at the front here. The top 4, and then it's the next 3 of Bram, Ryan, and David, then Nikolai, Steven, and Jamie, and then this group here. So really 4 kind of battling groups. And then I'm looking at the standings, and I see another group behind this one too. So, this is how these races go, as we see Stephen Phillips now putting the moves on Nikolai, and he is clear through there. Definitely looks like Steven's got some pace in hand. That's Miko again, off track. He was battling with... I'm not sure who he was battling with, but...
Not trying to put the blame on Vincent, but Vincent passed him after he crashed, so that's just...
Yeah, so not sure. As we've got Anthony Young off track there, he's going to lose some more spots here. But yeah, as I was saying, Sam, it's just, you find these battling groups in this league, and it's just, you have a 20-minute race, which you hear 20 minutes and it feels like a long time, but you can be locked in to a battle for the entire 20 minutes and, never see any other cars because you're so focused on that one battle that you're in. As we see now, Jeff Saunders making the move on it. The recovering Anthony Young probably got some dirty tires there from his trip off the track. More pressure on Rob Woodhouse here from Simon Trendle. And I think, the way the points are structured and the way these races go, I think Simon and Kenzie would love to move forward, but I don't think in this sprint race they're going to have, too much urgency. They're not going to throw it away, for a chance at second place here, because the race where the points really count is the feature race. And we do a top 10 reverse, so a couple extra positions there won't hurt for sure. This group, though, they're not leaving anything on the table here, as Bram is holding on to 5th at the moment ahead of Ryan Swayze and David Burns. The recovering David Burns started from the front row, has only really managed to get back up to 7th, which is not too far from where he fell. It just shows you how close this field is. Obviously, we know David is quick from his qualifying effort, but it doesn't seem like he's got so much pace that he can just march his way back through the field.
Simon's pretty close now.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to happen into sunset. But you can do the crossover exactly like Rob Woodhouse is doing here. That was perfectly executed. He got a little too much wheel spin there. That's going to cost him the position, but that is exactly how you do that over-under move into sunset, and nearly pulled it off. Just a little too much wear on the tires here at this stage of the race. So Simon's got 7 minutes now to track down Rich Wormingham. That'll be 4 more laps of this race, I believe. And we know Simon's quick, and probably, as it stands, the biggest threat to Kenzie in the championship, alongside the guy he's chasing, Rich Wormingham. So it'll be an interesting battle. Here we've got a move for 17th. Currently, Peter Evans holds it, and Jeff Saunders wants it, and Jeff Saunders has it through turn 1. It looks like Peter went a little wide there in turn 1.
I'm just gonna say something for the biter. Having almost stick-fold-like stickers on a Camaro is a bit weird, but that will just give Rolly a bit more work to change a bit the livery to remove that stick-fold-like stickers.
Yeah. Now here we've got XVR on XVR. Anthony Young was looking for a move on Peter Evans there. Couldn't make it stick, and I think had he, that would have been an issue, as we've got just a little camera issue there. We're back to the battle.
I think I lost the connection to the server for a minute.
All right. Well, we've got Nikolai putting pressure on Stephen Phillips, and we've got Ryan Swayze still trying to work his way past Bram. This has been going on all race pretty much, and as we mentioned, David Burns behind. We know he's quick, but hasn't been able to do it. Looks like, Sam, Rob Woodhouse has maybe just churned through his tires a little too much here, as Kenzie going for the move, and Simon pressuring Rich into sunset as well.
Yeah, most likely. GT's car really sensitive to all used tires. If it's anything like the previous version, because I've not driven these yet. I still need to get my wheel back and try them. But those V8s just eat the tires like me eating a bowl of fries. So yeah.
Yeah, especially in the high temperatures, as we mentioned, they'll be really chewing them up. And Simon, if his pace wasn't enough, Simon is the master at saving his equipment, saving fuel, and saving tires. So it's not a surprise to find him with pace in hand at the end of this sprint race here. As it looks like Vince has maybe had a connection issue. He's reset back to the pits. Not sure if that was a racing incident or a connection issue.
I don't know. I have it as cracked, so I'm going to try to look at it, but it might disconnect. Yes.
Okay.
Oh
dear. Bit of diff locking into turn 1, and he just kind of gave up on it. I don't know if that's...
That sounds like technical issues.
Yeah, it certainly could be. Yeah, not sure. But we go back to the Inter XVR battle. Or, nope, now we go to... Oh, no! Ryan Swayze's disappeared. Yeah, well, Ryan's American, I believe.
I thought he was from Australia, but I might be wrong.
No. Yeah, Ryan's disappeared as well. So, back to the front, though. Simon putting yet more pressure on Rich Wormingham here. He's got time to do it. I think we're coming to... should be coming to 2 to go this time around, so... Plenty of racing left to make the move happen. And Sebring, as we were saying, is one of those tracks where there's a lot of opportunities to make a pass happen. So Simon won't be impatient here as he lines Rich up into turn number 1.
I think Marco goes at a good.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Yeah, I was just about to point that out. He's looks like Vince blew the engine on a bad shift, perhaps. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And I think we've just had a change for the lead. No, we have a change for third as Kenzie's alongside Simon. I saw Simon get right up next to Rich as we went to the replay there, but now he's under threat from Kenzie, and with the tires they've got, I was going to say Simon won't be able to hold on, but instead it's Kenzie who lights him up and nearly lost third place to Rob Woodhouse there. And that might be exactly what Rich needed. Just gave him a bit of a gap back to Simon here.
Yeah, 1.5 lap left for Rich to actually claim the win of this one. With 0.6 of a second, it might be doable, but Simon is really fast at the end of this race.
Yeah, and we've seen Kenzie really frying the tires, but I don't think Simon has. He's been pretty measured even while he's been battling here. So he's definitely he's definitely quick. He's definitely quick through that section there, and we know Rich has been struggling just a bit through Sunset. So can Simon pull something off here? He'll have 1 lap to do it. He's good on the brakes, kind of swings it out wide, but he'll be able to tuck back in here and get a good run onto the straight. He's not got enough pace in hand to try something in turn 1, but we'll see if he can line him up for maybe turn 2. Goes again for that. Ooh, just clips the inside wall a bit. It's easily done when you try and swing out for the wide line and the crossover there, but Rich going a bit defensive here. Simon right up against it. I think the hairpin's going to be his best shot, even though we know he's good in the Sunset. He's got plenty of gap back to Kenzie, so this should certainly be doable. Rich goes to defend. He's going to make Simon go around the outside here. Does Simon try and cross him over? He does. But they're both good on the throttle. See, that's where saving your tires is so important. And Rich did a really great job just to park it on the apex and get a good run out. He's going to go defensive again here. This is some stellar defensive driving from Rich Wormingham.
He does bring Kenzie back into the fight as well now.
Yeah, and that it may be what he wants, just to, put some pressure back on Simon here as they head through Tower Turn. Bit of a wiggle there, but Rich has just been phenomenal this, just putting the car exactly where Simon doesn't want him to be. He's not, I don't think, going to be close enough to have a look here. He's going to try and set him up into Sunset. Oh, a little nudge. And that'll give Simon the inside line. Oh, but he's now Simon lights up the tires. Kenzie's going to have the run. I think they're going to be 3 wide into Sunset. Now, what do you do here? Do you try and back out, get the over-under? No, they're all deep on the brakes.
Kenzie, I think I close my eyes and pray.
Yeah, Kenzie's tried the over-under. It looks like he'll be able to snag second, but it's Simon Trendle who's going to come away with the race 1 win in the last corner.
Rich. Yes.
Yeah, Rich just gets Kenzie at the line for second. What a phenomenal finish there.
That was, yeah.
We head back in the pack a little bit. This is the battle for 12th place. And it looks like Ant Woodward's got this one in hand. And now the other thing that this means, Sam, is that we've got a debutant who's going to be on the reverse grid pole in Eduardo Laurent. Hopefully Eduardo is aware of the reverse grid and knows what's coming for him, but that'll be interesting for sure as the rest of the cars come across the line here.
That's going to be an interesting first race, yes. I'm sure we'll do well.
Well, it's certainly not the first time it's happened. I feel like somehow it always seems to find its way to the new drivers in those reverse grids. So
right,
it'll
it
definitely
happened
be
to
interesting.
me a few times to be on pole in a reverse grid, and I've never been in the top guys. It's scary to be at the top. The only time I managed to get the start correctly, I won a race because it was at Watkins, the short version, the NASCAR version, and there's been a bit of chaos, and it was a super sprint race. If you remember, it was 15-minute races. So I thanked that format for my win, but otherwise I threw it off every time. First braking zone, I just went straight and completely missed the corner.
Those super sprint races were wild. It got you a
yeah.
win. It got Pete a podium. It's
Well, it got me a
yeah.
win, so yeah.
Did it get Pete a win? Was it?
Yep.
At Barber? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Nah. It was out at Watkins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was insane. But yeah, that means everybody can win. Although with the reverse grid in the feature race now, it's a bit more complicated for the drivers, like myself, to get a win. But yeah,
I think it's a really good balance, though, and I know there's some drivers who are, you know. Let's go through the results and then we'll have that discussion. In first place, it's Simon Trendle. We saw the last corner pass 3 wide into Sunset. He grabs it over Rich Wormingham, who had 4/100ths of a second over Kenzie Newhoff at the line for second place. So a really fabulous race there for the podium. And Rob Woodhouse was not all too far behind anyway in fourth, within a second of the win. So really stellar battle there. In fifth place, it was David Burns, who did manage to get the best of that little group that they had there. I guess after Ryan Swayze had his issues and managed to get by Bram for fifth. In seventh was Stephen Phillips, ahead of Nikolai Bogotyrev and Jamie Wilson. As we mentioned, the debutant Eduardo Laurent on pole for race number 2 with a 10th place finish. Behind him, Rob Venn grabbed 11th in front of Ant Woodward, who we saw had the contact with Stephen Phillips in race number 1. Mikko Koitinen had a number of issues there, but recovered to 13th ahead of Rolly Wallbank. Stacey Boyd also had some trouble, ends up 15th ahead of Jeff Saunders. Then it's Rich Jameson and Peter Evans in 17th and 18th. Behind them were Anthony Young and Arnulf Kohler in 19th and 20th. Darren Reynolds was the last finisher in 21st ahead of... Actually, it looks like Vince got a fast repair and kept going
Vince
in 22nd.
went back on track with 2 to go, I think.
Yeah, Ryan Swayze, though, disconnected. He came home in 23rd. As I was saying before that, Sam, I think the way we have it now is really great. The feature races with the pit stops, it does mean that usually the quick drivers are going to find their way back to the front. It's unlikely that someone can snag the reverse grid win, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. You definitely will see drivers who take advantage of that reverse grid and end up with a good finish. So I really like the balance we have right now. I think it's a really good format, and I think it works pretty well with these cars too. A lot of drivers have lamented that it's difficult to pass in these cars, and that is true to an extent. But I really find that the racing is excellent, and it makes for some awesome battles.
It does look really good on the broadcast anyway. So that's a win-win for us and for the viewers watching that are not participating, and I'm sure the drivers after the race. But yeah, I think the format now is pretty good. We've seen in the media day, I think it was Bob Woodhouse that won that one with a nice strategy, and I think Marco is right because regarding the point system that needs tweaking for the reverse grade.
Yep.
But
I do agree. Yeah,
I think we all agree.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a way you can actually get an advantage with finishing further back in the first race, but yeah. Let's say we had some issues between seasons and we completely forgot to change the point system. It was talked about and we should have done it for this season, but yeah, things happened,
Yeah.
and we completely forgot, and the rules went out, and people registered and started the season, and we figured we forgot to change that rule. It
Yeah,
happens.
no need to dwell on it. I think we all know that it needs a bit of a shift, and it's a little too heavily weighted to the reverse grid race. I absolutely agree, but yeah, I think we're all on the same page there, and it's what we've got for this season. So it's still fair to say that it's not a guarantee. Coming in 10th and starting on the pole, or trying to game the system. We've seen in these big fields, it's so competitive that, for one, it's hard to make sure you finish in 10th in race number one. But also, we see lots of drivers, having issues at the start of race number two. And then if you've gambled away race number one, you lose all your points for the weekend. So it's not a perfect science, but yeah, I think we're all on the same page regarding
Yeah,
it needs a bit of a
exactly.
shift.
But like it would be easy to finish 11th and not 10, and you've lost your race 1 and your race 2, basically.
Yep. Well, we'll get to see here some good reverse grid racing, I think, and as we mentioned, the front of this field is the whole of this field is so close that it really makes these reverse grid races tough. So getting a good start is going to be really important for these drivers. We've seen it time and time again. I mean, look at David Burns. Probably should have been in that lead group of 4, but ended up pretty well behind in 5th just because of a bad start. So it's pretty critical to get everything right. With this new car and with the grids that we have.
And strategy will
Like
come into play with a pretty odd track again.
It does look like it's come down a little bit, which is good. Good for the drivers, because it really is tough once the tires overheat to make it last the full stint. Obviously, with a 40-minute race, you're not really going to be pushing to the end of the tire's life. We just saw a 20-minute race, which you figure is about as long as the stint is going to go. But with that said, there's definitely still the chance that you run into some issues. I'm realizing we don't have any inside strategy information, Sam, but I did do some laps.
We do.
Oh, we do? Oh,
you're
good.
not in that channel. Yeah, I have my private informations. So
okay. Super duper secret strategy information.
Yes. Do you remember how many lap was race 1? Because predicted was 10 from the inside information.
I can give you that information in just a second.
And
it was 10 laps. Yep.
Wonderful. So the inside information, not to quote him, Tony Klosterman, because, well, yeah. He's mostly the one that gives us informations. Tony does a lot of job for the league, and we appreciate that and thanks him a lot for it, because without him the league wouldn't be where it is right now. That's clearly a statement. But race 2 should be 19 laps, so that's almost double with the pit stop and stuff. One less. Tire weighs a bit high, so you will have to take that into account. We saw that in race 1 at the end, some sliding and in action, so they will have to take that into account for the pit stop in race 2. Not be too early, but not too late either, because you will lose a lot of time. But for the fuel, as early as 6 or 7, lap 6 or 7, and as late as lap 13 should be the pit window.
Yeah, I think the tire strategy will be really interesting here, because you could really thrash the tires fighting in the first stint, and on purpose, and then do a kind of deliberate save of the tires in the second stint. But I'm not sure how many of these drivers are that comfortable with saving tires, because it's not you can train to fuel save pretty easily.
Well, yeah, that was my strategy with the Gen 2 cars when I used to race. It was trashing the tires in the first stint and pitting a bit early.
Yep.
And then saving the tires for the second stint. And it worked pretty well for me because when I was in the battle back at the start, I couldn't save the tires anyway. So it depends also on your driving style. Some drivers can take care of the tires better than others. When I'm alone on my thing, and I'm better at saving the tires and saving fuel than when I'm in the back, which kind of makes sense for some people, but yeah.
Yeah, that strategy is risky though, because if you do find yourself in a battle in the second, half of the race, you've got to be pretty disciplined to not overdo it on the tires and have some tires at the end. We saw Rich and Rob Woodhouse struggling at the end of the race, one on the tires, compared to Simon and Kenzie. So just getting the grid started here. Marco in the chat saying it's a long lap, so the undercut might be big, which is true. Also with the track temp elevated, it's somewhat the outlap is somewhat detrimental in these cars. Because you have to get the tires up to temp. But with the elevated track temp, that might not be as much of an issue. So, yeah, I think those two considerations probably lend themselves to the undercut potentially being the strategy of choice here. But we'll have to see. It's Eduardo Laurent leading us off from the front of the grid ahead of Jamie Wilson. Nikolai, Steven, Bram, David, Rob, Kenzie, Rich, and Simon, the reverse top 10. And then it says they finished race number 1. So everybody just gridding up here. And Marco says outlap not that bad with this car. I disagree. My point of reference is the previous car, which you could set your fastest lap of the race straight out of the pits, pretty much.
Yeah, the previous car was completely obscene.
I see the point, because it doesn't handle poorly. It's not like you are struggling, like the prototypes struggling to keep the car under you on cold tires, but it's definitely slower. That much I feel pretty confident saying. But Marco is a better driver than me, so what do I know?
As long as it's not raining in a GT3, you're not that bad.
I cannot wait for the first rain race we have in these cars. As the lights are coming on. And it's a pretty good start from Eduardo, pretty impressive. There was another car towards the back that didn't get off well. I think it was Kenzie Newhoff.
Either Kenzie or David again.
Yeah, no, David's clear away, so I think it was Kenzie who struggled. Oh, yep. There's a sideways Simability car. And somehow everybody's kept it mostly under control. There's an XVR car spinning off in the back, but that could have been so much worse. There were at least 4 cars that were fully sideways there, and the XVR car of Peter Evans is the only one I think that got damaged from that.
I'm gonna watch that again, but later on, because now they're all together. So we're gonna watch the first few laps battle, and then we're gonna go watch the start a bit later on.
Yeah, I know Rob Venn was one of them. I think Nikolai was it was either Nikolai or Bob Woodhouse who was sideways. Who was the Simability car, and then there was the other one that had contact and went off the track. There were 5 wide at one point, as we see Rob Venn and Mikko Koitinen battling over 12th there. Rob's got the inside line. Does have a bit of damage from his sideways moment right in the middle of the pack. And it is not, in a prototype, it is flat out through here. I can promise you in the V8s it is not. As we see, Stephen Phillips has made a move for the lead on Eduardo, and Jamie is going to grab second place. I think Eduardo's just kind of minding his P's and Q's here, and oh no, he's got contact from Nikolai there. Oh, and Simon's got damage. There was definite contact there from Simon into Eduardo. It looks like everyone else has gotten through clean. I'd like a different angle of that. It kind of looked like Nikolai just stuck his nose where there wasn't room, but it was pretty tough to tell from that angle because, it looked like Eduardo was really just trying to get out of the way of everybody. But yeah, definite damage to the front and the rear of Simon Trendel's car. Here's a replay of that one. So yeah, Eduardo's pretty slow.
Yeah. Nikolai, I think, is a bit wide, and
tough to say.
It's one of those racing incidents where
Eduardo's offline there. Eduardo's offline there, but Nikolai,
wasn't
it's
really
very
on
tempting
the
to stick your nose in. Yeah, similar in a way to the Stephen Phillips and Ant Woodward incident in race number 1. It's very easy to put your car in that position and find the gap closing quicker than you thought. So,
yep.
We continue on. Eduardo's recovered, but he's in 21st here. As Bram is putting the pressure on Simon, we'll have to see how that damage affects Simon. I'm sure he'll do the fast repair on the pit stop, but for now he's running okay. He's up a few spots. Obviously started in 10th with the reverse grid, up to 7th behind Rich Wormingham.
Let's try to check on start with.
Yeah, let's see
Nikolai.
Here. So yeah, I think it was a Simability Camaro that was sideways. So I'd imagine it was Bram looking at the car numbers.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, so Bram ran up on the back of Nikolai, had to get on the brakes. That sent him into Rob Woodhouse, who went into David Burns. And that group somehow sorted themselves out, but then there was more with Rob Venn and others in the back.
That was a bit chaotic, but well managed, I would say, from the few guys at the front. You can see
so
the sideways.
Get shoved off into the grass here. Rob had contact with Miko. And then that checked up the Racing Forces car. I think that's maybe Jeff Saunders.
One last for the back.
Yeah, so there was an XVR car sideways before turn 1. I totally missed that. And then is that Ryan Swayze running into the back of Peter Evans?
I think Peter Evans being a bit cautious with the crash ahead.
Yeah.
Ryan not slowing down as much as Peter. Yeah, I had that before.
Yeah.
It's annoying, but it happens.
Yep. As we see Rich putting pressure on Nikolai here. This is the battle for 5th place. So Rich moving through the field very quickly after starting in 9th. And Simon following him through here. We mentioned Kenzie had an issue at the start, but he's in 21st, so something else must have happened to Kenzie there.
He went to
Unless
late.
Okay, well that maybe a jump start, or I'm not sure what that would be for Kenzie. That puts him so far back.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna try to watch the start again and watch Kenzie if I can find him in the list.
Ooh, I'm having replay issues, so you'll have to tell me what happens. But
oh yeah, he moved before everybody. So yeah,
right.
It's typically a jump start.
Well, so tough break for the championship leader, but that'll definitely help Rich and Simon, who are the ones chasing him in the championship fight, as they're up to 5th and 6th. We see Rob Venn here under pressure from David Burns. Tough break for David here after his bad start in race 1 to get shuffled out in race number 2. He has not had a good relationship with the Sebring front stretch in turn 1. Oh, Jamie Wilson is around in front of the start-finish line. That is a really strange place to be parked. And he's going to have to wait for the whole field to come through here before he gets reoriented.
On his own.
And did he just spin up the tires?
What?
Oh, no.
No
he was
way.
following Stephen Phillips, who tracked out really wide, and Jamie just well, he followed him right into the wall, basically.
Oh,
That's
a rookie mistake.
That is a rookie mistake for one of the most experienced drivers in V8ESC. That is, well, Jamie's not going to want to come in for an interview after that one.
I think Marco got the answer.
As Miko goes around there. That looked like a wheel spin-induced slide out of the hairpin for Mikko Koitinen. Vince here putting pressure on Bram. I'm a little surprised that Bram is this far back. He really seemed to have pretty good pace in qualifying, and he's been fast all season, but just doesn't seem to have it here in race 2.
Yeah, Vince plus 30 position. That is impressive.
Yeah, and we know, well, we know most of the NQR drivers are pretty brutal on their tires, so perhaps Bram taking it easy, trying to save them here in this race. But Vince has got to run here heading into sunset. He's going to pull out early. I don't think Bram is going to fight this one too hard. Oh, he does. He gives Vince a little cut and gets sent into the wall.
Yeah.
I struggle to put much on Vince there. He couldn't have telegraphed that much earlier. He ducked to the inside, and Bram just kind of closed the door there.
Yeah, he's well on the right side before the corner, and yeah.
Yeah.
It's not moving out of braking, but it was close to it, and I don't think once Vincent was coming into the inside, I don't think he had any chance to move anywhere else, basically.
Well, yeah, Sunset's an interesting corner because the natural line is to kind of, well, it's to do what Bram did and kind of angle yourself in, but when you got a car that's nearly up alongside you like that, you kind of got to be more aware. As we see Rob Venn and Ryan Swayze here battling over a spot in the top 10, and it looks like Ryan's going to have that, not quite before the corner, but should have it on exit here as long as he doesn't get any wheel spin.
I have to say, iRacing cameras from 5-6 years ago were rubbish. Now they're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean they have taken leaps and bounds. I think it's. I know a lot of people like to deride it and call it a sim from 2008, but I really don't think there's all that much left from the original sim in 2008. So
yeah, they've come a long way. I was focused back on the pole sitter newcomer to under round Eduardo. Hopefully he doesn't get put off by that small incident. At least he's sticking with the race, which is good.
As we've got two NQR cars here side by side for second place. And Stephen Phillips has disappeared off the road. He is 3 seconds ahead of Ant Woodward, who, we know that there are no team orders at NQR, and they fight hard between themselves. But really, I think Ant would benefit greatly from letting Rob through here. We know Rob's got some pace, and I think Ant is maybe holding up that whole group.
I think it's Ant's going by everybody because he's up 10th position.
He did get a lot of those at the start with all the chaos that was going on. But you may be right here. Did he? Yeah, I honestly didn't notice which of them was ahead
I think
So
it
you
was
may be
Bob
right.
ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe Bob had an issue then, because yeah, he was certainly rapid in race number 1, and Ant really wasn't. Well, I shouldn't say that. Ant had his issues with Steven, so he was at the
Yeah, Ant
back
was
not
turned
because of his
around. Yes.
pace, but yeah. But either way, they've got to get a move on soon, because the 2 fastest cars from race number 1 are right up in behind them in Rich Wormingham and Simon Trendle. But the guy who's loving this is Stephen Phillips, who is just starting to stretch it a little bit. Actually, it's just starting to come down a little bit. So Ant pulling it back just a hair on this lap, as we see a perpetually recovering today David Burns fighting with Vince Skilbeck here over 8th place. He's almost back up to where he started, which he didn't manage in race number 1, but hopefully he can pull it here in race 2.
Yeah. Well, he can't blame himself for race 1, but race 2 he was a bit a victim of everything.
Yep. It's a group of recovering drivers here. Miko getting the move on Darren Reynolds, and it looks like he's bringing Eduardo with him. Eduardo thinking about going around the outside, and actually he is going to send it around the outside here. He won't be able to hold it there, but it will give him a run into turn 2. No, he'll have to settle back in and try again later on, Darren.
As far as I remember, the XVR team always at that level. You've been part of that team, so I think, is that true? Because I don't think you remember anything else.
It is not the original livery, but it has been for quite some time. So
okay,
yeah, close to forever at this point. At least 5 years or so. Ooh, a little hip check. Darren spun the wheels up there, and
exactly.
just a little nudge to Eduardo. No harm there.
Yeah, he's on his recovery drive as well.
Yep, making the move on Jeff Saunders there, cleared him well before the braking zone for tower turn. Yeah, I think it's probably easier to list the drivers who aren't on a recovery drive right now. I mean, Vince is recovering from his blown engine in race 1. Ooh, we've got our first pit stop here on lap 8, and it's Bob Woodhouse and Simon Trendle. So two of the quick guys who had a little bit of damage. I think you can hardly call that a surprise here. We'll have to see where they come out relative to the field.
Yeah, so that's lap 8. That's 1 or 2 laps later than the earliest you could go for the predictions.
Yep. Nobody else joining them though, so
well,
maybe it's a little tighter on fuel than we think.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how much of an undercut Simon can get with Bob on Ant and Rich. And oh well the tires will be on Ant and Rich cars. I guess it will depend if they react this lap or if they go long for the overcut.
Yeah, and actually Rob has beaten Simon out of the pits, so whether he was fuel saving or Simon just overfilled a bit, that would be quite unlike Simon though. he's got it down to a science. So
yeah, Simon's been a bit slower in the pit lane. Can I show the pit lane time? No, I can only show the pit stop time, which is only
0.3 of a second difference.
Yeah, but it was 0.7 of a second difference on the pit lane time, so a bit slower for Simon, which is about the size of the gap, basically.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Kenzie, who was 15th a lap ago, is now 10. A couple of those were from the pit stops, but he's on a charge right now. After his drive-through penalty for jumping the start.
Yeah, I suppose Bram and Simon's pit stops are from damage.
Bram and Jamie, you mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I would.
Bram and Jamie, yes. Rich in the pits.
Yep. So, covering off Simon and Rob, and they have had clear track here, Rob and Simon. So it will be pretty representative here. Rich's time.
Simon has closed the gap between him and
Yes,
Rob.
he has. He is pushing on those tires. And it's a long stop for Rich. I saw the pit exit come up. I wonder if he overshot his box a little bit.
Yeah, he's at 18.4 seconds.
Yeah, full 2 seconds longer than Bob and Simon.
That's not the one I want.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because I have left pits and then enter pits again.
Yeah.
Which usually means you overshoot your pit box.
Yep. Yeah.
At two times. Oh jeez. Once forward.
So that's cost Rich pretty substantially. I mean, it's hard to say that 2 seconds in the pits is substantial, but really, when the field is this tight, that's a lot.
Well, you've seen what the margin was in race 1 after 20 minutes.
Yes.
It was barely a tenth, so yeah, 2 seconds is a lot.
Yeah, it looked like Simon got held up there by Darren Reynolds, and that's given Rob a gap to run away here, as we see Bram and Jeff battling now on board with Simon. We saw him right up behind Rob at the start of the lap, so definitely something held him up. Now, that is for position. That is the perennial trouble with an undercut, is that you could end up in traffic that is battling for a position, and they have no obligation to let you through. So that is the trade-off, as we see Ant, Nikolai, and Rob Venn heading for the pits.
Yeah, when I said earlier that I pitted early in my stints, the good thing is I was already at the back of the pack, so I had no traffic coming out of the pits, which made me actually do a proper undercut. I just had to watch my mirror to see if the leaders didn't come behind me, but that's the only issue.
We're just about to the halfway point of the race, so the quote-unquote optimal time to pit in terms of tire strategy is this lap pretty much. I do wonder if we'll see Stephen Phillips pop in from the lead, or if he's going to take it long. It certainly isn't the worst strategy, with the lead that Stephen had to run this long. He'll probably come out without the lead, but he will have some pretty fresh tires, so will be interesting to see what Stephen does here.
Well, it's either going to be without the lead or close to other people. Because he had almost 4 seconds, which is not too bad, It's quite a nice gap, but the last time for Stephen was 27.01, where Bob Woodhouse is the first one that has pitted, did a 2:06.03. So it's a second faster. In 3 laps, he passed Stephen Phillips, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as you mentioned, Rob Woodhouse currently leads among the cars who have pitted. But they're still working their way through traffic. It was another XVR car there, Anthony Young. We'll see if Rich gets through any easier. But, he's let him through there. So Rich trying to get back the spot that he lost from Ant Woodward in the pit exchange. Or no, they were behind anyway, weren't they? But, with the extra time in the pits. Ant's actually got the shortest pit stop of anyone at 15.5 seconds. Almost a second quicker than his teammate there, so...
Yeah, I don't know that Andy is a good fuel saver. Should we get worried about Andy's strategy now?
It's a fair question to ask, as Ryan Swayze is the next car into the pits, along with Rich Jameson and Miko Koitinen here. So, of the cars going along, we've got Stephen Phillips, who was leading and is still leading, and then we've got Vince, who started from the back, so he's trying to maximize clean air, it seems like. And Kenzie, who did that drive-through earlier on, doing the same thing, trying to maximize time and clean air. Here's the battle currently for 9th place. 2 cars that have pitted, Stacey Boyd and David Burns.
Yeah, the issue for the 3 front guys is that they're doing, well, Kenzie is doing a 206.1, which is not too bad considering he has old tires. Stephen's done a 2.7.2, and Simon has done a 2.5.8. So that's a lot faster than Stephen.
Yeah, and I'm sure Stephen knows that, but he may not know. He may not have exactly what times they're doing, but
he definitely knows they're going faster. Yeah,
exactly. And it's what we were talking about before, right? With this, the feature race with the pit stops. Your choices as a car benefiting from the reverse are, to try and mirror the strategy and play defense all day, or to try and maximize your strategy, expecting that some of the cars are gonna undercut you on their strategy. But I think Steven's making the right choice here. I think he's got clean air. He might as well use it, even if Rob and Simon and maybe even Ant and Rich undercut him. He's still, I think, going to be net positive from where he would have been, starting from without the reverse grid.
Most likely, Andy will have good tires at the end anyway, which might not help fighting against maybe Simon or Bob, but it will help him fighting all the people that have pitted already and will not have good tires compared to him at the end of the race. So yeah, it's definitely a gamble. He'll probably not win against everybody, but he will definitely win against some.
Yeah, and it'll be fun for us to see him on fresh tires. So
yes.
As Vincent Skilbeck exits the pits in 10th place, pretty long stop for him compared to some of the cars he's racing. 17.7 seconds. So the only one ahead of him who was longer was Rich, who we know slid through the box. So not a great stop for Vince, but he's still up from where he started in plumb last. So he's making progress. Move here, David Burns on Stacey Boyd. This will be 7th place, done and dusted in I think what we can only call a lost opportunity day for David Burns. He's definitely had better pace than a 5th, and barring significant issue, looks like a 6th or a 7th here. So he's he's made the best of what he could given the issues he's faced. But you definitely look back on a day where you clearly had front row pace as a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, most definitely. I think the start of race 1 was the worst for his day, at least.
Yeah. Here we go, leader in the box. Stephen Phillips making his way down pit lane.
And they're already in the backstretch, which, yeah, sunset.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the gaps here. I'm expecting Stephen with a normal stop to come out probably just ahead of Ant. Although Ant's pretty close on, maybe just ahead of Rich. He'll be right with this group. It was a pretty lengthy stop though, so yeah, that's going to drop him probably back behind Rich, but still, top 5 with fresh tires. That's a good trade-off for Steven here.
Yeah, I'll take it all day. It's not that so far either, so.
No, he's
Definitely
not.
something to play.
And compared to the leaders, that's what a 3-4 lap difference on tires, which for a 2-minute lap, that's substantial.
Yeah, that's a nice difference. It's even 5 laps difference on Bob and Simon.
Yeah, that'll definitely make a difference for him. As we see Ryan making a move on Stacy here, that's a great lunge into the hairpin. Stacy tries to pinch him a bit, but he's just going to open himself up to Vince on exit. Oh, and he tried to close the door, but Vince was there. And Stacy's going to lose out to Vince, and Vince is going to lose out to Nikolai here. And to Kenzie. So Kenzie up into 9th. Yeah, Stacy, I think, probably frustrated from going wide there. Didn't realize that Vince was already up alongside. Just tried to shut the door. As Simon is definitely not saving those tires. He is pushing here, trying to keep the pressure on Rob Woodhouse. And actually, he's got a run here. I think he might make a move into Sunset if Rob doesn't cover him off. Yeah, Rob's not defending, so Simon looking up the inside. And Rob doesn't close the door like Bram. He leaves it open. Oh, big slide there from Simon. And that's got Rob looking up the inside. Unfortunately for him, that becomes the outside for turn number 1. And he backs it off. Simon sends it in deep. Does he try and cross him over here? As Simon took that perfectly right out to the exit curb there.
It's funny. I just noticed the Goodyear sign on the back of the of the Chimera car. I don't think they run Goodyears in the VAs, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, and going back to a point of discussion we had earlier, I think you're right. I think Ant is the quicker car here for NQR. He has closed that gap up and is putting the pressure on. Meanwhile, Stephen Phillips on fresh tires up the inside of Rich Wormingham. He should get it done on throttle here. Rich holds on, but yeah, that is what 5-lap difference on tires will do for you.
Yeah,
great effort by Stephen Phillips.
Rich was faster than everybody else. We saw it in qualifying in race 1, although he finished 2nd, but that's how much the tires makes a difference in these cars. Not that Steven is slow, but he's a bit slower than Rich, and he just passed him like he was sitting. Well, not a sitting duck. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it was easier than it should have been on same tires. Maybe that's the white way to call it.
Yeah, for sure. Now Steven will have to be careful here because he doesn't. He needs to push while he's got the good tires, but he can't push too hard because if he kills the tires, then all these guys here are going to go right back on by him.
Yeah,
so
it's game over.
It's really going to be a tight balance here, but I know Steven will be pushing for the podium here, and I think he's probably got the tires to do it. So that'll be fun to watch. We ride on board now with Eduardo, our race 2 pole sitter, putting the pressure on Rich Jameson here, and got to give a shout out to Eduardo. Definitely holding his own here. It's tough to show up to one of these races for your first time.
He's definitely doing a great job. I mean, we know the quality of the field, and all of these guys, well, most of them know each other. They've been racing each other for years. So
exactly,
it's difficult to find your place in a field like this. We know how welcoming they all are, so that's good. But I mean, being turned around that early in race 2, I know some drivers that would have quitted, and he's still there, still making progress. So it's good. If you keep up like that, I'm pretty sure we'll be enjoying the league even more in the next races, and maybe some better results than today. I mean, for a first showing, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Marco,
and Marco spot on on the commentary. Yes, Wadley would have rage quit long ago. In fact, he has rage quit from V8 races before, as we see Rob putting the pressure on Simon here. So not sure if there was a little mistake from Simon that precipitated that, but Rob all of a sudden is right back on him. And this group is not spreading apart. Definitely seems like Simon is quick, no doubt, but doesn't seem to have the pace to pull away here. On to the Ullman straight they go. Rob a little further back. Simon seems to be really good onto the Ullman straight here. We saw it in race number 1. That's how he got Rich ultimately in the end. And here he just gapped Rob a little bit. And it's a good place to be quick, with Sunset being one of the best passing opportunities on the track. So that's going to make it tough for anyone to get by Simon here, as we see Rich Jameson going by Rolly. And Eduardo looking on. Oh, just a little nudge there. I think maybe on Rolly, but everyone keeps it together. And Mikko Koitinen looking on as well here. Finn's taking a look into turn 1 on Nikolai. Looks like Nikolai's gonna let him have it pretty much. I think Vince is pretty quick and just kind of ended up on the wrong foot by circumstance. But now Nikolai taking a look back. Not quite deep enough on the brakes to make that happen. And at the front, all of a sudden, I see the gaps coming down. We've got this battle, Kenzie recovering past Ryan, and he's going to get that done. But Stephen Phillips is there. With those fresh tires, he doesn't have much left before, they all start to reach the same plateau in terms of lap time after a little bit, but he still clearly has some life left. He is right on the back of Ant Woodward here.
Well, he's looking good for a podium. Hope I'm not jinxing him, but yeah, he definitely have the pace to maybe claim 1 or 2 spots, maybe even lead. But Simon is not getting away from his group either, so yeah, he's definitely have the pace to do something if he can hold on to the tires and take advantage of the fresher ones and not cook them too much before they reach the same plateau, as you said.
Yeah, you can see Ant is really pushing on here. And this is what we talked about too, the double-edged sword that is no team orders at NQR. You almost wonder if Ant would have benefited being let through on Rob. Because as it is right now, as they battle, they're only holding each other up. But and bringing themselves back towards Stephen Phillips.
It's good that it's good they're racing each other, because we sometimes have 6 guys from NQR, and if you remember when we have a 12-15 car grid that was over half the grid, so if we had team order, we would have no race at all back in the days. So I think it's good they race each other. I mean, yeah, yeah, that was tight, but that's good.
That was nearly the same moment they had in race 1. Oh no. Oh,
and that's
no.
the same. Yeah.
Yeah, a few corners later, I need to see a different angle, but
yeah, so that one was solitaire, I think. I mean, Steven.
Yeah, where is Steven? Where is Steven gonna go there? I mean, you can't go further left.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's tough. I mean, he certainly would have compromised Ant's exit, but as it was, Ant's exit was extremely compromised. So, yeah, you've got to leave the space in these cars. It's not obviously in the real life V8s they can beat and bang in these cars, but unfortunately we are all amateurs. So it's
yeah, go ahead.
It can be really tough to leave room knowing you might not keep the position, but it's always better than being spun off into the grass, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so as well. I always try to leave room when I can, and when I feel like I give it. Sometimes I don't give enough, but I think that's the same for all of us. We don't have the special awareness with it being virtual, and like being in a real car. It's not exactly the same. Although iRacing did a pretty good job with producing everything. But I think these cars take more of a beating than the previous one. Like you can actually race side by side and touch each other. Like the previous one, when you touched, you were just pretty sure you're gonna go off track and end up in a wall. With this one, you can small nudges are okay. That one between Steven and Anne was like, you know, the front and the back together. It's always gonna happen like that, and you're always gonna turn the guy around. But side by side combats are better, I think. Like.
Yeah, and you know, it's tough. It is really tough when you're in the car that gets spun around to, you know, keep your head in it. And as we see Ant making the move on David Burns here, little hip and shoulder, and lights up the tires, and maybe they're both going to lose a spot to Kenzie here. But oh yeah, Ant's still got those overheated tires, probably from his spin earlier. He's going to be late on the brakes though, and he's got the inside line.
Yeah, but then he's on the inside, and he's got red hot tires at the back.
Oh, he's very wide there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think Ant is maybe driving angry here, but...
Ant angry? Nah, he's never angry. He would probably laugh at that comment afterwards, but right now, if he hears me, he would probably fume a bit more.
Well, it sounds like there's some. It sounds like there's some discussion going on the driver chat right now. Oh, there's some intra-team contact there. Dave and Kenzie getting together, and that's opened the door for Ant again into Sunset. I was gonna say I could hear some chatter on the driver chat between, I think it was Ant and Steven, but you know, this is a group that's really good about hashing things out afterwards, and I have no doubt they will talk it over after the race.
What might be frustrating for both of them is that he's the same guy at the same corner for 2 races in a row.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they will see it afterwards and act like adults. We might be on the last lap. These races went like crazy.
Yeah, that's. Thank you for pointing that out. Unfortunately, because of the contact, things have kind of cooled down at the front. Simon's got about a second over Rob Woodhouse, with Rich Warmingham in third. And it being the last lap, these are really important spots for Kenzie here in terms of the championship battle. Every spot he can grab here is going to help limit the damage, because his 2 championship rivals right now are first and third. So he needs to grab everything he can. He's really putting the pressure on Ant here. He's going to send it up the inside. And I think he's going to get it done. Ant's obviously going to push it around the outside, and he'll have the inside here. So this is the reverse of what we saw last time through. And he just shuffles Kenzie out. Kenzie takes the inside line. Does Ant try and cross him up here? No, Kenzie holds the inside. I think that'll do it. And that'll be a valuable position for Kenzie. 6th place there. Meanwhile, Simon heading towards Sunset for the last time.
That's not a clean sweep, because he didn't get the pole in race 1, but he won race 1, and I'm gonna wait until he's finished the race to say he's race 2.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to see what happened to Jamie happen to him, but
yeah, that's like what I don't. Yes, that's race 2 win for Simon. Oh, I saw the timing close between Anne and Kenzie, but no, it's not gonna happen.
Yep.
That's almost the wall as well for Ant.
Yeah, no, you're spot on though. You're spot on, Sam. This is the Simon that got him those champion stickers we see on his car. The kind of weekend that he had for 4 seasons in a row.
I don't remember Romania. I think I counted that like a few races back. I went through the history, but yeah.
Really good battle here between Eduardo and Rowley for
Might have to run
16th
on the
place.
outside.
Eduardo trying around the outside. I don't
No.
think he's going to get it, but what a valiant effort there. Clearly
He
starting to
almost
feel
had it.
comfortable in these cars. But yeah, really, this is the Simon we've come to know and as a competitor hate over the last few seasons. Just, you know, perfectly picking his way through the field as he comes back in race 2.
No mistakes.
So
just
no mistakes, letting other people make mistakes, and yeah, that's how he does it.
Waiting for his teammate to cross the line to get the results. It's the pit out to the right, Jamie, if you want to go faster.
He's fortunate we just didn't have that replaying in slow motion on a loop because there was so much going on in that race.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
All right, there you have your results. Simon Trendle, your race winner, ahead of Rob Woodhouse and Rich Wormingham on the podium. Stephen Phillips brings it home in 4th ahead of David Burns, with Kenzie Newhoff and Ant Woodward in 6th and 7th. Ryan Swayze is 8th. Vince Skilbeck, coming from the back of the grid, makes it up to 9th ahead of Nikolai Bogotyrev, who rounds out the top 10. Then it's Stacey Boyd and Rob Venn. Jeff Saunders and Rich Jameson and Miko Koitinen rounds out the top 15. Behind him, Rolly Wallbank and Eduardo Laurent. We saw their great battle towards the finish there. Bram was 18th ahead of... Just gotta wait for the standings to cycle. There we go. Anthony Young came home in 19th. Arnulf Kohler in 20th. Darren Reynolds 21st. Jamie Wilson, after his hilarious mistake, comes home 22nd. And Peter Evans 1 lap down in 23rd.
Well, I don't know what you think, but I think that was 2 excellent races.
Yeah, I think that was fantastic. It's what we've come to expect, honestly, this season. You know, there were some incidents, but this is a group of really competent drivers, and it makes for some great racing, great passing, and just as we said before, a stellar overall job from Simon Trendle to piece that together, keep it clean where nobody else did. I mean, other than the little nudge on Eduardo when he was spinning in race 2, I can't think of anything else that, you know, was a foot out of line for Simon.
No, and well, there's nothing he could have done with the small contact he had in race 2 with Eduardo, because Eduardo was already around just in front of him, but couldn't see him and just hit him, trying to avoid the accident. So yeah, a flawless race again from Simon. Excuse me. I almost died, but it's okay.
I thought a pan comically fell on your head there or something, but
no. I told you before the broadcast I'm recovering from a small cold, so yeah, I'm coughing a little bit, but so sorry if you heard that on the microphone. Yeah.
Well, shall we get the interview started here? I think I'm still not able to pull people into the booth, but if you want to grab our
yes.
Well, we don't have a race winner yet, but we've got why don't we grab Steven? Stephen Phillips, welcome to the booth.
Maybe.
Maybe
not.
Maybe not. All right, maybe we'll grab Vince. Everyone's antisocial today. Hey, Vince.
Vince is not used to be dragged up that early. He's really at the end.
Hello.
So Why don't you get us started with what happened in race 1? We saw your motor blew. What was it? Self-induced?
I think so. Just looking at the replay, I did what I normally did and did the double downshift. But I think I did it either too quick or I did it just as I hit the bump going into turn 1, which usually makes the engine explode if you hit a bump and try to double downshift. So yeah, that was that.
Well, it certainly set up a pretty impressive recovery in race 2 there. You really stormed your way back. A couple minor incidents along the way we saw, but pretty impressive to make your way through the chaos there at the start that we're seeing right now on the screen.
Yeah, I had a similar start in race 1, and I was almost my engine blew, but yeah, race 2, I knew it may be a little bit more harder, just because I was starting a few spots back, and I was on the opposite side to where I started race 1. But yeah, I managed to get around a few cars. Managed to sort of stay out of the way of most people. Yeah, I had the incident with Bram at the last corner. I'm not sure if he knew if I was still there. I did pull out early to make sure he knew I was coming through. And it just felt like he turned down on top of my car. So I kind of had nowhere to go. The one with Stacy, I just looked at too. I have no idea. I think he either was going to try and cut me off again, or just didn't think I was going to try go up the inside and get the run. But the first incident I had with Stacy in race 1, that was all me. So I feel sorry for Stacy for that one, but my engine blew, so kind of counteracted that one.
Yeah, well, our amateur assessment of the incidents was pretty similar to yours, so I think you're spot on there. We seemed like the hot track made for a lot of passing. Did it feel like there was a lot of moving and shaking in the race for you? It seemed like there was a lot going on.
Yeah, coming from the back, I get to see a lot more of what happens throughout the field. But yeah, there was a lot more cars tonight, either making dives or just moving around a lot. I think it's just the nature of Sebring being bumpy, that it's a little bit more harder to keep the car underneath you. But yeah, Sebring does open up a lot of passing opportunities, so you just got to be confident with your passing, I say. Yeah, go from there.
Very good. Well, do you have anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, everyone in the league for turning up. We had another good number again tonight, which was amazing. You guys for the broadcast, and Simability for sponsoring the league again.
Very good. Well, thanks for joining us, Vince. Well done on your recovery drive there, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, catch you guys.
All right, we do finally have some drivers in the interview room now. So Simon Trendle, how you doing?
The classic pull me in while I'm talking. Hello.
Obviously the first question we have to ask you about is how did Jamie explain himself?
What, for driving into a wall?
Yes.
Well, he said in reality he didn't hit it, is what he said. And I said, yes, correct. You hit it virtually. But yeah, I know I've done that in practice. To be honest, if you run wide there and you think, yeah, I'm fine, and then you just clip it and it's death. So yeah, I did sort of find a different line in Sunset eventually, which meant I wasn't at risk of it anymore. But yeah, I mean, I've done it in practice, so I understand.
I think you're being all too generous, but no. Well, let's talk about your race. Seemed like a pretty typical Simon Trendle championship drive, just executed, no mistakes, and yeah, were there mistakes that we didn't catch on the broadcast? Because it seemed pretty clear cut to us.
Did you catch my pit stop?
I don't think we did.
Because I had the smallest overrun by about 0.5 millimeter. I had to reverse. It's hilarious on the replay, apparently, because Jamie looked at it back, and I just basically popped backwards, and then the pit stop starts. So yeah, I messed that up. Yeah. Otherwise, this car and combo is just difficult. The cars are sliding everywhere. So I don't so much think it's me making mistakes or making few mistakes. I think it's the case of making the fewest, really. Kenzie got his jump start, which, whoops. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw your. I think Marco Nermella on the chat described it as a slide job pass for the lead in race 2.
Oh. Yes, because I got past him and I was on the right line, and then I put my foot down, and the car immediately went sideways and would not stop. And I really apologised to Rob for that, because I really didn't mean to do it, and it just would not stop doing it. But I don't know if he's having the same problem because he didn't get back alongside me, so or I was completely sideways and completely blocking him. I don't know which one it was.
I think everyone was having the same problem to some degree. Everyone seemed to be pretty much sideways everywhere. So
yeah,
I think
especially on the old tyres. I mean, that was really difficult, and I was genuinely expecting Stephen Phillips to come back at us all because he'd run long. But yeah, I don't know what happened behind. I know something happened. Yeah, I'll have to find out when I watch it back.
Yeah, he and Ant had a little coming together, but yeah, we were thinking the same. How manageable were the tires towards the end? Because I know this car is somewhat, I don't want to say easier to drive on trash tires than the old car, but it's definitely not easy.
I'd say this was harder than the old car on trash tires. It was that slippery. And the drop off was immense. I mean, like after lap 4, you're dropping over a second. So the only real options for pitting were to pit the first lap you could or the last lap you could, really. So, which is why me and Rob had huge jumps on both Rich and Ant, who's pitted like 1 or 2 laps later.
Yep.
It's just the drop off was immense. You either had to have the fresher tyres later on or get the fresher tyre early as an undercut people. Which I was forced into by no damage. So there we go.
Yeah, yes, we did see that. Little run-in with Eduardo there when he was spinning, I think.
I have no idea who it was. I said to the other guys, it was that one. I was going through the S's. Like, okay, I'm not making any progress here. I just need to cruise through this sector and get a good run onto the straight, and maybe I'm going to go at someone. And then all of a sudden there's a car sideways in front of me and smoke. And I'm like, oh god, I'm not prepared for this. Yeah, and the other thing I need to go and find out is I don't know if Rich is going to turn up in the interview room, but I'm going to go find him later on, just see what he found about the last lap to race 1, because he sort of brakes or slowed down a little bit earlier, so I sort of dived to the right, and I thought what he might be mad about was the dive, but by the looks of it on the replay, it might have been a nudge from me to him, and I didn't feel anything, but I need to find out what he found on his end, really, there.
Gotcha. Yeah, it certainly made for an entertaining finish for us, so we thank you for that.
Yes.
Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Everyone who's turned up for, obviously it's a tricky car, and that was, I mean, Montreal was difficult, and then this somehow managed to be even trickier. I mean, it doesn't help that I did Sebring 12-hour last weekend, so I'm used to driving a GT3 round here, so it took several days to get out of that habit, but really tricky around here. Everyone gave it a go, and you guys for your time and doing the broadcast and stuff.
Very good. Well, congrats on your double win, Simon, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, see ya.
All right, I think next up we've got Rob Woodhouse. Hello, Rob.
Hello there, Tyler.
Well, that was an entertaining day. I think you somehow seem to be, much like Simon, clear of most of it.
Well, I was caught up in it in turn 1 in the feature.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Bram spun. He was, I think he went in a bit hot. Had to check up because Nikolai was going a little bit slower than he expected. He had to check up, lost the rear, spun into the wall, and I just had visions of Detroit all over again. I could see, I could see my life flashing before my eyes. So I probably, jinked to the right slightly more than I could have done, and clipped David. And really sorry, David. It wasn't my intention. I just reacting to what I was seeing. And then later on in the lap, there was another incident, and I had to check up again. And I think it caught Simon out, and he crunched into the back of me. So that whole first stint, I think the spotter said I got damage on the left side, damage on the rear, damage on the front. So I was pretty wounded for that first stint. So I just pitted as soon as I could.
Yeah, I think there were about 15 incidents that didn't end up happening in that first lap of the feature race. So you certainly weren't alone. But I think the common theme is the tires and how they held on there. It looked like you faded a little bit in race 1 and fixed it for race 2, because you definitely held on better there.
I didn't change the setup at all, so maybe the extra fuel in it just gave me a bit of a better balance, and I think the track temper dropped a bit as well. The first race was quite hot, so I think that I'd struggle more with the hotter track. So I think that didn't help in the first race.
Yeah, certainly didn't. But it seemed like you had a good battle there with Simon and with Ant in race 2. That was pretty. We were getting a little worried about some blue on blue there.
I mean, Ant wasn't in the chat tonight, so we couldn't communicate the pass. I just tried to hang wide going into sunset to let him know to take the inside, because he was monstering me down the straight. He had more top speed, and I was struggling a bit. But once I tucked in behind him, I think I found a little bit more of a balance in the car where I wasn't pushing so much. And that helped me get to my pit window and just pitted as soon as I could. Took the fast repair, and then I was good to go to the end.
Yeah, certainly worked out for you, and was fun to watch, and a good points day, which I think it's fair to say you needed after the last few weeks.
Yeah, I got the P2 that I should have got, that I had in the bag last week. Can you believe that? P2 with like a lap and a half to go, and just wiped out by somebody else that had crashed.
Yep.
That one hurt. But it wasn't intentional, shit happens. Oh, sorry, shouldn't swear. But Ivan feels bad enough as it is. So hopefully we'll see him back.
No, you're all good, and a well deserved podium today. So anyone you like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Tony, Greg, and Chris, and and Bram, and Nikolai, all the NQR boys who've been, working hard together this week, pushing each other. But Ant and Bram had really good pace this week. And it's just a shame that both of their races didn't turn out as they'd have hoped. But it's a good showing for the team tonight. Yeah, looking forward to watching the replay of the broadcast. Thanks to you, Sam and Tyler, for manning the fort. And Simability for sponsoring the league, and everyone that turned up, because 23 cars around here tonight was good fun.
Very good. Well, congrats on the podium, Rob, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. All right, cheers, guys. Bye.
All right, Stephen Phillips did message me to say he's got his mic working now, so I think we can safely grab him. Hello, Stephen. You with us?
Mike. Defaulted to the Oculus headset. So I'm here.
Well, it was a very entertaining race for you, and a really solid strategy there in race 2. It was looking pretty good for you.
Yeah, I thought it was too. Well,
it's one of those things, but you certainly was that the plan from the outset, or was it once you realized that you had a bit of a gap that you tried going long?
I think I mean, I got out front, and then there was a gap, and the numbers never really went up or down rather. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna drive it till it's empty and hope for the best, because that's worked out in the past pretty well. And yeah, I was feeling like the car felt good. I was feeling pretty racy. And yeah, I had an incident with another driver. I mean, we'll have to talk about it, him and I, at another point. But
That's
I
fine.
wasn't
We
really
won't make you.
thrilled
We
about
won't
it.
make you give your thoughts here if you haven't had the chance to talk it over. But yeah,
Yeah, I just want to be raced fairly, from my perspective.
Yep. I get you. Well, sorry, had to have been fun racing from the lead there and getting to pass some cars with fresh tires at the end. I bet.
Honestly, it was just really good to be back. It's good to see everybody. Good to race with everybody. Obviously, I apologize to Anthony Woodward for the contact in race 1. And yeah.
And yeah, I guess your race 1 was you did end up ahead of where you started, so that's pretty good. How was that one for you? I feel like we saw plenty of you in race 2 with you running up front, but I think you were kind of more in those mid-pack battles in race 2 that it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah. Well, I did the official yesterday to kind of just get a little bit of a warm-up. And your Navara set felt pretty good. The last time I drove these cars, that's how long it's been. So I drove that Navara set, and it was like, I'm not on the pace like at all. And so spent a lot of time in practice just tweaking that, and softening up the rear, and then spent most of race 1 just kind of learning how to race that setup. So I felt like that put me in a good position to be as competitive as I could in race 2.
Great. Well, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
You guys for putting the broadcast on. It's a little weird having you in the booth and not on track. But yeah,
well,
you guys.
Clyde and
Pete
Wadley and their vacations.
Simability, and I think that's it. Yeah, it's really cool to see the grid size over 20. So yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. Congrats on your 4th place there in race 2, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys.
All right. Looks like one more interview. Bram, how you doing?
Oh, good evening, guys. Well, it was doing better race 1 than race 2.
I think to say it was an eventful day for you would be an understatement, as it has been for just about everyone we've pulled into the booth. But yeah, it started off kind of crazy with all that in turn 1 with Nikolai.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't expecting him to be, slower there, but yeah, then it forgot, P10 was still in pole in front of him, so I just so happy I didn't turn him, but I think I scared everyone else, myself included.
And us.
Well, you got to give a bit of entertainment for the racing, don't we?
Yeah, it was well, it was certainly entertaining. We've been saying that, but yeah. Well, let's talk about race 1. You seemed like you were just a little bit off of the pace of that front 4. Is that where you were, or was it? Did you feel like you had enough to fight if you could get the track position?
Yeah, I think the whole week I found myself to qualify quite well, but then I was struggling. Lap 2 to 5 or 6 or something. I was struggling hard, and then my car always comes back. But then that part, they're gone. You're just out of the slipstream. You get some company from behind. So I had some good racing there with Ryan and then David later. Sadly, at the end, I tried to defend a bit too much and actually gave him the spot. But all in all, happy with the P6.
Yep. And then race 2, I didn't look at the results. Did you manage to fuel save to one stop that after your incident?
Yeah, I managed. I saw like, okay, how much do I have left? 15 laps. Luckily, 60 is easily dividable by 15, so I knew I had to hit less than 4. So I had a number to aim for. I was hoping for a bit more people to, come out behind me, but I just had to let them go because I couldn't fight them and I couldn't risk, I was lifting so early that they would just run over me.
Yeah.
And had quite some fun actually. The pack of 4 in front, so I had a good seat.
Yeah, it is certainly. I mean that is certainly impressive given how long the lap is here to fuel save an entire lap. That's pretty well done there.
I think it's actually 2 laps even, or maybe even more for Rob because I already burned less. I watched like the replay where Vincent touched me and it's like the smallest touch ever, and I couldn't do anything anymore with my car, and it was just like, there's the wall, slowest crash ever, and just totaled. Was happy I still could get to the pit and didn't have to tow.
Yeah, it worked out okay, I guess. But well, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we close it out here?
Well, everyone who joined was a pretty nice grid, so I hope it continues like that. Simability for sponsoring, you guys for sitting in the booth and doing the broadcast, and then we were a bit less today. Not everyone could join from NQR, but thanks to the team as well. A lot of practice together, so we were actually quite close with each other during the SOF races. Sadly, some stuff happened here, so we got around a bit everywhere, but we'll see. We got some more luck next races, I hope, so see you back then.
Very good. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, cheers. Enjoy your day.
All right, Sam. I hope you've saved your voice enough to give us your pick for driver of the day.
Yeah, I've been coughing halfway through the interviews. I think I need to go to bed quite early today because it's getting worse and worse. But yeah, I've tried to think about who to pick, but I seriously don't know.
Well, how about I give you my pick, and maybe that'll process of elimination one for you. My pick's Rich Wormingham. I think, other than barely sliding through his pit stall, he ran a pretty flawless couple of races. Didn't get a win to show for it, but 2 podiums. So I think Rich did a really great job.
It is. I think it is a pretty good pick, if you ask me. Oh, jeez. What am I gonna pick? Okay, I'm gonna go with my first idea. I'm gonna pick Stephen Phillips because I think he did an impressive race too, despite the small incident. I don't know if anyone's to blame for that one. It's just 2 cars coming together. So yeah, I think it did a great job in race 2 to holding off people, and I think without that incident, it would have been further up the field and maybe a win or close to it. So yeah, I think it was a good showing for him.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it. Thanks to everyone for joining us on the broadcast and for joining us for the race. We really appreciate it. Thanks to Simability for sponsoring the season. And we'll see you all next time out.
And you're ending up like that. I was doing lots of stuff in the background, trying to finish the broadcast properly. So I will just say good night and see you in 2 weeks for the next race.